So,
Awesome.
all right. One of the things we wanted to do is we have a lot of film composers that kind of live and die by Cubase. Last month I was at Hans Zimmer's place for a day showing his staff all the new Cubase 7 stuff. And one of the things that they always try to do is to mimic a real orchestra. You realize that a real choir, a real string section doesn't necessarily play perfectly in equal temperament. So they'll actually kind of focus their tuning to get to basically like a pure temperament. And we have equal temperament, especially in MIDI, because it's a keyboard-based, element. So when we do that, some of the strings don't actually sound perfectly in tune. So if you're not familiar with like pure temperament versus equal temperament, what pure temperament means is that the notes are perfectly in tune. What equal temperament does is basically it will take all 12 keys and have a slight series of compromises so that all 12 keys are perfectly in tune. So what we want to do in MIDI is to be able to emulate this. So we actually gave a new tuning mode called Her Mode tuning. And what this is going to allow you to do is to have the fifths and thirds of a chord perfectly in tune. So we'll go ahead and play an example. I just did some wind instruments. It's incredibly boring musically. But just kind of, you can listen to like the tuning and how you'll hear kind of like the fluctuations in pitch. So you hit play. Turn this up just a little bit. So you can hear, even that's what we consider normal tuning circumstances. You'll hear different chords actually be a little bit more out of tune, and you'll hear kind of like the waves of the tuning. So if I wanted to mute those tracks, I have these tracks playing back in Her Mode tuning, which I can activate right here on each track. And now what I can do is, as I play, I'll turn on the equal temperament and the pure temperament, and you can listen to it. So it almost sounds like I have a chorusing pedal on. So this way, this allows you to kind of have more realistic how like string or choral arrangements will sound. I remember working with Donald Fagen a number of years ago. He got his Nuendo set up, and one of the things that just kind of chatting with him, he's just like, oh, it's like sometimes he didn't like MIDI because he wasn't a big fan of equal temperament. So now we could actually have all the tuning down to where you have the pure temperament to get better, more realistic string parts and more accurate tuning.